Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are embarking on a seriously fascinating journey, one that bridges the gap between raw imagination and professional reality. We're talking about the Philippine Creative Industries. If you've ever sat there and wondered how to transform your creative talents and passions into a viable professional career, well, you are exactly where you need to be. We are going to break down the exact frameworks and actionable steps you need to chart this course.
Okay, let's dive into this. For the longest time, there's been this persistent, almost stubborn myth that creative fields are just mere hobbies, right? Like, it's something you do on the side while you try to find a quote-unquote real job. But the data and honestly the reality of the modern economy tell a completely different story. Creativity is not just a talent. When you combine it with strategy and discipline, it's a highly sustainable profession. It's a booming business opportunity, and it's a deeply meaningful way to contribute to society.
So, here is our explorer's map for today's agenda. We'll start with why you should choose creative careers, then explore the different domains. From there, we'll navigate using a SWOT analysis, draft your personal career plan, and finally, align your future.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, why choose creative careers, or how to actually turn that passion into a sustainable livelihood.
So why should you even consider a creative career? Well, it's definitely not just about earning a sustainable income, though that is important. It's about massive business opportunities. Think about it. Literally every modern company out there needs designers, branding experts, and videographers just to survive in today's digital age. But beyond the business side of things, creatives are absolutely vital for cultural preservation. They use local designs, folk stories, and traditions to really promote and cement the Filipino identity. Plus, they drive innovation. Creatives are always pushing the boundaries of technology to reach wider global audiences. When you combine your innate skill with real discipline and planning, you're turning your passions into tangible societal contributions and, yes, solid income.
Moving right along to Section 2, exploring creative domains. We are venturing into the vast terrain of the creative economy.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly diverse this economy really is. On one side, you have the evocative visual storytelling of national artist Ben Cab, which represents the intensely focused, often solitary discipline of traditional visual arts. But then, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, you have the vibrant, collaborative, physical energy of a massive event like Isabella's Bombonti Festival. Both are incredibly powerful expressions of the Philippine creative industry, but they obviously require entirely different skill sets and environments.
If you find yourself drawn to the visual side of things, the Visual Arts and Design cluster is totally your territory. We're talking illustrators, graphic designers, art directors, painters, architects, and fashion designers. But keep in mind, visual design is not just about making things look beautiful. Actually, scratch that. It's really fundamentally about solving problems and communicating messages clearly. An architect has to perfectly balance aesthetics with intense structural math, and a graphic designer has to capture a brand's identity to solve a very specific marketing challenge.
Now, for those of us who feel more at home on the stage or maybe locked in the studio, there are music and performing arts careers. In this cluster, you've got singers, theater actors, choreographers, composers, and voiceover artists. These roles are all about using the voice, the body, sound, and rhythm to communicate profound meaning and truly move an audience.
But let's just pause here for a quick reality check. As it is so often said in this industry, talent is important, but talent is not enough. If you really want to make it as a professional in the performing arts or honestly any creative field, you have to rely heavily on consistent rehearsal. You have to be open to sometimes harsh feedback, and you absolutely must collaborate effectively with directors, technicians, and your whole production team. Raw talent might get your foot in the door, but discipline is what keeps you in the room.
Next up, we have media writing and communication. These are your authors, scriptwriters, journalists, copywriters, and brand ambassadors. These roles demand an intense amount of audience awareness and responsibility. Writing a hard-hitting news report requires rigorous ethics and research, while writing a snappy commercial script requires persuasive brevity. Ultimately, it's all about crafting and sending the exact right message to the exact right people.
And you know, technology is just rapidly widening this entire creative map, opening up completely new platforms and opportunities. Take platforms like Kumu, for example, a massive social entertainment app proudly made by Pinos. It just goes to show that tech-savvy digital creatives have entirely new frontiers they can conquer, literally right from their smartphones.
But who brings all of this magic together? That would be the digital, technical, and production careers.
These are your video editors, audio engineers, web designers, and lighting directors. We really have to remember that many of the absolute most crucial creative professionals work entirely behind the scenes. Without their deep technical expertise in seamlessly arranging clips, balancing audio, and optimizing user experiences, the final output would just never be polished or professional.
All right, Section 3, Navigating with SWOT Analysis. This is where we assess your gear and honestly your vulnerabilities.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how a SWOT analysis elegantly splits your reality right down the middle. On one side, you have things you can actually control, your internal strengths and weaknesses. On the other side, you have outside forces that are totally beyond your control. Those are the external opportunities and threats in your chosen field.
Let's look inward first. You need to be totally honest with yourself and identify your strengths. Maybe you have explosive creativity, an amazing work ethic, or you're a wizard at specific software. But equally, and this is tough, you have to confront your weaknesses. Do you lack real-world work experience? Do you struggle with time management? Facing your own frailties right now gives you a massive head start because it highlights the specific areas you need to improve before you dive into the job market.
Then, we flip it and look at the external factors, the environment out there. Opportunities might be things like free online tutorials, huge technological advances, or local community networking events. But the threats? Those could be incredibly strong competition from other new graduates, or software trends that change at lightning speed. Looking closely at these external opportunities and threats takes your career planning from a vague dream to a highly realistic strategic roadmap.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, Drafting Your Career Plan. It is time to actually chart a course to your destination.
A genuine career plan isn't just wishing and hoping for a good job. It is a highly structured roadmap. It requires you to break down those huge, ambitious long-term goals into immediate, specific, and actionable short-term steps.
Let's move to and see how this builds chronologically. Let's just imagine your long-term goal is to become a lead chef. Your short-term actions have to follow a logical order. First, you learn more. Maybe you interview experienced pros in the kitchen. Next, you practice skills by creating new dishes weekly at home. Then, you get experience by hustling to land an entry-level restaurant job within 6 months. Finally, you gain training by earning a culinary degree or certification. This chronological framework works flawlessly for literally any creative industry role.
And finally, Section 5, Aligning Your Future Path. We need to ensure your map actually matches the territory.
Before you go all in, I want you to really reflect on this career alignment checklist. Do you genuinely enjoy this type of day-to-day work, or do you just kind of like the idea of it? What skills do you already bring to the table, and what do you desperately need to improve? Are you willing to put in the hard work to meet the daily requirements of the career? A great career choice has to be realistic, and it has to be deeply meaningful to your specific values and the future you actually want for yourself.
So the crucial point is this. Planning is fantastic, but execution is absolutely everything. You have the map, you know the terrain, and you know how to assess your gear. So what small creative output will you do today to prepare for your career tomorrow? Will you sketch out a new design, write just one page of a script, or edit a short 30-second video? The creative economy is out there waiting for you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I seriously can't wait to see what you create.